What is up, everybody? Welcome to Comic Book Club. I'm Alex.
I'm Justin.
I'm Pete.
And this is our 2024 comic book movie preview.
Ooh. And now we've been doing this for a lot of years in a row, so it's great to finally get this
2023. We've been doing it for 2023 years. This is the 2024th edition of our movie.
I don't think
it was pretty dry for a lot of time.
The first several episodes were What is Movies? And that's what we're getting towards again this year, as we have, I want to say, less comic book movies than ever before. However, I want to give a quick shout out at the beginning here. This was a great idea from All in the Game 01 over on YouTube. Said, hey, when are you going to do your hype rankings for comic book movies? So All in the Game 1.
Yo, what's up, the tube? Thanks, brah.
Yeah, thanks, All in the Game. It's hype time.
It is hype time. So here's how we're going to do this, because there are actually only 5 comic book movies currently scheduled. We're going to run through them.
Let's get hyped.
Then what we're worried about, but we're also going to say which movie we are personally most hyped with. And I'm going to start off with
most hated.
Or sure.
Yeah, the least looking forward.
Reverse hype. There are two emotions: hype and hate. And
that's how I roll. That's where I live.
We're the human internet, and we only believe in hype and hate.
You got that tatted on your knucks, right? Hype and hate.
Did you say knucks?
Yeah, tatted on your knucks.
Yeah, my knuckles. Yeah.
Hey, but it's on your nuts and your nuts. It's on your nuts and nuts. I got nucks and nuts tattooed on my nucks. Because those are my two emotions, are nuts and nuts.
Great. All right. Well, we'll talk about whether we're nuts or nuts for these upcoming movies. Let's kick it off with the first one coming out this year, February 14th, just in time for Valentine's Day. A perfect date movie, we can all agree. Madam Web, coming out from Sony's Pictures. This is part of the, I forget the exact name, but the Sony universe of Spider-Man connecting characters. Acronym like that so far has included such hits as Venom, Venom 2, Morbius.
Morbius re-release based on internet hype that ended in hate.
That was a little more, I'd say, nuts than nucks, honestly.
Wait, I think you have that reversed.
I don't know that I do.
It's the good thing, and nucks is the bad?
We've been texting about this for a week.
We've been texting about this. We're going to release our nuts versus nucks text chain for you guys, just so you can see how much we talked about this.
So, brief overview of this movie. Stars Dakota Johnson as Cassandra Webb, a.k.a. Madam Web. This is a character straight from the comic books, except a different version of her. This seems to be a little bit more of the Julia Carpenter version of Madam Web. Madam Web, usually in the comic book, is an old blind lady who's sitting in a spider chair and gives Oracle-style predictions to Spider-Man. Here, we got a little bit of a Final Destination thing going on, as she can see a little bit of the future and prevent danger. We don't know the exact plot, but based on trailers, you got Sydney Sweeney as Julia Cornwall, a.k.a. Spider-Woman. You got Isabella Merced as Anya Corazon, a.k.a. Aranya. And you've also got Celeste O'Connor as Maddie Franklin, another Spider-Woman, as well as Tahir Rahim as Ezekiel Sims, who seems to be the villain of the movie, tracking down and changing the web of life. There's also a lot of rumors. We might get into some potential spoilers here that we don't know are true or not. But Adam Scott and Emma Roberts are also in the movie. Here's the potential spoiler. Maybe they are a young Uncle Ben and Aunt May. I'm sorry, not Uncle Ben and Aunt May. They might be the parents of Peter Parker. Yeah. And Ben and Mary, I want to say. Anyway, maybe the plot of the movie is Ezekiel trying to stop Spider-Man from coming about. We don't know if that's true. But we do know it takes place in 2003, everybody's favorite year.
Yes.
So that all said, Justin, to kick it over to you, I think this is your most hyped comic book movie
JT says,
what can I say? There's a lot of hate out there about this movie. But I got to say, watching the trailer, the idea that this has horror movie Final Destination vibes, it feels like there's a really clear plan going forward with Madam Web, Dakota Johnson having to protect these 3 budding spider heroes from the monster that is Ezekiel, who seems to be chasing them. Less complicated plot, all that stuff. It feels like it's a pretty straightforward.
Feels complicated.
Well, I mean, yes, like maybe the specifics that Alex just read, if you're anyone who doesn't know about this world, sounds like gobbledygook. But it is, I think once you're in, the actual action of the movie feels pretty clean. Good trailer. I'm actually hyped for it. And I think part of that is these movies feel like the antidote to the overly complex, weighted, heavy movies that we've got lately from Marvel and DC.
Now, just to jump on something you said, as far as Alex's explanation was concerned, it does sound, confusing because he said straight out of the comics, but different. So, I mean, that sentence alone makes you scratch your head and go, well, how could it be straight out of the comics then if it's different? But the idea of it kind of started in the comics, and then kind of they changed some stuff around. But the kind of basis or what it kind of started as is there. So that is exciting in itself. Who would have thought you told a younger you, like, guess what? You're getting Madam Web. And they're like, what? I don't really understand who that is, but that's crazy. Oh, man, we're getting a whole movie? You betcha, kid. Oh, I didn't sign up for this, but sounds great.
Will she be in her spider chair? Oh, sick.
Sick. What?
I'm sure she's going to put on like a long red coat and sunglasses, more like the Julia Carpenter version at some point. Pete, I can't tell though. Are you hyped for this movie or not? Where's your
Well, I can't tell if I am or not either, because I have no fucking idea what movie I'm going to walk into. Hopefully it'll be good. And then I could be like, awesome. I can't read the comics because it's different, but I'll be excited about maybe another Sony universe kind of thing, you know what I mean? Moving forward.
I would say it's funny that you say back in the day that we would have been like, what's going on? Because this definitely feels like a back in the day movie, and that feels like everything that Sony is going for here is throwback to the 90s where they're like, great news, we got a Madam Web movie for you, and you're like, what? No, that's not what I wanted.
No,
don't give me that.
My order wrong.
And then the people behind it were like, yeah, we kind of fucking hate the comics and we don't want to do anything with the comics, so we're going to do whatever we want with this movie. Yeah. That's a very classic 90s title. I do think there's a nostalgia level there for that.
Yeah,
that
100%.
Certainly came out with Venom, which was a mess, but a delightful mess, mostly powered by Tom Hardy going ham on the whole thing. I will say, from my direction, I was kind of with you, Justin, in terms of like, this is going to be a goofy, fun time at the movie theater until I started to watch Morbius the other day. It's on Netflix now. And I was like, this will probably be bad fun. It's just bad. It's like boring, insane, bad. And to the point where I was like, I need to pause this after half an hour because I am so gruelingly bored at this point. So that made me a little more worried about this, as well as another movie we're going to be talking about in a little bit.
Well, I hear that because I would also argue the other movie we're going to talk about is a much worse trailer and probably a worse movie. This movie just there's some extra juice in this Madam Web trailer and movie that I feel like maybe is going to propel it to that like nostalgic, clean, simple superhero movie like the ones pre-MCU that were like a little bad, like not great, but still fun and interesting.
Yeah, and that's what there's hope for this movie. There's a little bit of a hope for this movie that it could be good. You lean into these other characters in a way that maybe is kind of a little different. I mean, the problem is like with the Spider-Man movies and the multiverse, it's played out, but maybe we get kind of some unique stuff out of this and it could be interesting.
Well, and like the Venom movies are weird. And like if this movie is just allowed to be a little weird or different or more of a horror movie than other Marvel or other superhero movies would be, then that's great.
Yeah, I will say Sydney Sweeney definitely on a roll right now. Dakota Johnson, a very weird element that is always interesting to watch in movies. And Isabella Merced also very much on a roll. She's, I believe, going to be Hawkgirl or Hawkwoman over in Superman Legacy. She's booking a bunch of other roles. So, cool. I don't know. It's definitely like a hot cast, I think, in terms of...
Hot cast.
Hot cast.
We got a hot cast here and a hot cast in this movie.
So that's fun. Well, the other thing that I would say is a plus in its corner from the comic book direction, I don't know about you guys, but it's been a while since I've gotten out of a movie and people have been like, can you explain this comic book concept to me? Because it's so MCU and everybody's MCU fans. Here, we're going to walk out of this movie and people are going to be like, who's Ezekiel Sims? It'll be like, my time to shine.
Yeah.
My
Everyone's
time
gonna run.
to shine. Buckle up. I'll just have a little rope after the movie, then they can just kind of file in, and I'll be addressing their concerns.
Oh, hell
one-on-one.
yeah. I'm about
Yeah.
to get into it with Moreland, his whole family of inheritors, and the Web of Life. So get ready.
Come on, buckle up.
Do you feel like this is a direct connection to the Spider-Verse, though, I believed in the comics. So when we're talking to this crowd and saying, like, people, one at a time, back up, you're smothering Pete. Pete's dead now because you smothered him. We'll answer your questions one by one.
Yeah, I think 30 minutes in, I'm going to stand up and just be like, pause it here. Okay, listen, audience, this is what's happening.
You're gonna pause the
break
movie.
it to 'em. Yeah. Just kind of break it down for them so they can really enjoy.
I would literally, Pete, I would love to see that. I would love to hear you in the middle of a movie break down Moreland, Ezekiel, and the web of the Spider.
It's probably going to touch on all of these confusing comic book concepts in some way. And the line is going to be like, how accessible and fun are the action scenes in the middle of all this stuff about, I mentioned this on a podcast before, but we got this character Ezekiel who's hunting down the various spider women. He
Sort of
might
a
also
Moreland.
be Moreland, who is a vampire in the comic who sucks the energy out of spider totems. That's the simplest way of describing it. But
Spider
I think
totems, you say?
spider
Yeah.
totems. I'm not going to
Because
say
I'm familiar with spiders, and I hate when you run into their totems. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Especially if they're low.
Yeah,
If
that's a
they've been
totem
sucked.
disaster. The big problem here, the big like warning sign beyond literally everything else we've talked about, is Sony has this tendency over the course of their history to be not settle on something. Like the thing that worked about Venom was it was just a Venom movie, and that was it. The thing that worked about Spider-Verse, both of them, is it focused very squarely on Miles and then opened up a bit to talk about Gwen in the second movie, but it always was about those characters, and that was it. Sony, over the course of their history, has been like, great, we did one good movie that people really enjoyed. This next movie is going to set up 16 other movies. And here we have at least 3 Spider Women in the movie that feels to me like them being like, we're going to launch a whole franchise. 13 movies are going to come out of this. Here we go. And you can feel the cocaine behind the scenes powering absolutely everything.
Oh, there's nothing better than
That's
when
my
you can
concern.
feel
But
the
we'll see.
cocaine
We'll see.
Spider cocaine.
coming right off the screen. I can
Spider
feel it.
cocaine. Spider cocaine. Anyway, we'll see what happens with that one. That one's coming out quickly. Why don't we move to another one? Deadpool 3, the
Come on.
lone MCU release of 2024. We've got a couple of TV projects probably coming out. We've seen Echo come out. We know there are maybe some other things down the pipeline. Agatha, House of Harkness, or Darkhold Diaries, or whatever we're calling it, might be coming out as well. There may be some more animated stuff that's coming out this year. But we're in a very weird TBD year for the MCU, other than Deadpool 3, which is coming out July 26th, 2024.
Woo! Just in time for my birthday. Come on, baby. Let's get it.
Lots of big stuff going on in this movie. Obviously, Deadpool and Deadpool 2 have both been big hits. We've got Ryan Reynolds back as Deadpool. We've got his frequent collaborator, Sean Levy is in the director chair. So I guess that's good news. They've been making nothing but hits pretty much nonstop for a while. But the big news is we got Hugh Jackman back as Wolverine.
The
teaming
Jackman.
up with him. But that's not the only one that's going to be in the movie. We know Miranda Baccarin will be back as Vanessa. Brianna Hildebrandt will be back as Negasonic Teenage Warhead, one of the big hits previously in the series. And there's a lot of unconfirmed rumors. The only one we do have confirmed is Jennifer Garner is going to be back as Elektra from Daredevil and everybody's favorite movie, the Elektra movie. Pete, you are the most hyped for this one, to the point that you're holding up an Elektra comic book right now.
Weird.
Talk about why you're hyped about this. Why is this your number one movie of the year?
Hey, do you remember that one year where the only Marvel movie we got was Deadpool 3? Well, I do, because it's this year, and we're going to get one movie, and I'm going to line up, camp out, get ready, because this is it, and I'm excited to get my one spoonful of sugar in the form of Deadpool 3, and yeah.
And every other part of your life is medicine, except
That's right.
for Deadpool 3.
Except for Deadpool 3, the only sweetness left in my life, and I can't wait for July. Just got to live till the end of July for this movie. and
Jesus.
it will be great, and hopefully it will be worth it. And yeah, I'm excited. I think that comedically this could be the best one yet.
Pete, it's February 15th. We just watched Madam Web, and you're already lining up for Deadpool 3?
That's
You
right.
don't have
Get
to
my
do that
tent.
yet.
Oh yeah, man, come on.
Great. Well, that's Pete's take.
Cool. Justin, what about you?
This movie we don't know a ton about it. We know just from Hollywood news that the strikes they were in the middle of shooting stopped this down. There were some leaked photos where we got to see the guys shooting it. They've started shooting again, or they're back in production. It's going to be tight to get this movie done by that date, I think. So, hopefully they will, and hopefully the push doesn't affect the process and maybe the CGI. But while the strikes were happening, I think they could have been working on some of the CGI because that wasn't covered by the union. So there's a chance that everything is going to fall into place greatly on the sort of the Nux side. On the Nut side, this this is fun. The leaked plot is great that came out for this, and I don't know, this is a rumor thing, so if you don't want to hear it, tune out for a second. But it's that Deadpool has to go hit all of the like bad superhero movie multiverse, and that's why we're getting Electro, we're getting perhaps a Ben Affleck Daredevil, all of that stuff. And that is such a fun, smart idea that does a Deadpool take on the multiverse that is truly funny, I think. And if that's the central conceit and we just get all the fun of the previous Deadpool movies brought here to this movie's going to be great.
Yeah, Pete, you can put back on your headphones now. I'm interested in this. I mean, my one hesitation is Deadpool, I thought, nailed it. Like, that is exactly what you wanted out of a Deadpool movie. Deadpool 2 was mixed. I think there were some very fun bits throughout, but it lost a little bit of the magic of the first one. With Deadpool 3, and I'm not going to mention any of the spoilers that Justin just said for your sake, Pete, but there's a possibility, because we are dealing seemingly with some sort of multiverse stuff, that you could lose the emotional core of it. And that's, I know I keep going back to that, but like, that's the thing that was so good about the first Deadpool, is it was all about him and it was all about Vanessa. So if we can get back to that in some way and not get lost in Wolverine is here, give him a real emotional arc as well. Elektra, why is Elektra there? A couple of others that I didn't mention. We got Stefan Kapsix as back as Colossus. We got Blind Al is in here. Dupinder, the cab driver. Yukio, Negasonic Teenage Warhead's girlfriend. Rob Delaney is back as Peter. I think he was just a guy on X-Force, if I remember.
Peter was a big hit.
Emma Corrin and Matthew McFadyen are both in it in undisclosed roles, but the popular rumor is that there's some sort of thing going on with the TVA, because this is very specifically moving Deadpool from the Fox universe over to the MCU. So like Justin said, there's a lot of fun stuff they potentially can play with there, a lot of fourth wall breaking stuff. But I don't know, it feels like they're going to deliver. People are going to see this. They still love Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. Ryan Reynolds, as I mentioned, has been on a nonstop role for the past couple of years. I know you're iffy about it, Pete, but like, if there's one thing out of the X-Men movies that people always want to see, it's Hugh Jackman as Wolverine. They made 3 extra movies just about Wolverine.
Yeah,
Logan was great,
and one of them is good. Yeah, I would say, Alex, it's the. The emotional core that you're talking about, I feel like they won't go back into the relationship well, but what if the emotional core of the movie shifts a little bit and it's about Deadpool and Hugh Jackman's friendship? It's like a buddy movie, or like a bit of a bromance about Deadpool like needing friends. He doesn't have any friends, or something like that, where we can just shift the emotional stakes where it's more like germane to what the plot of this movie.
Yeah, I like that idea. I think that'll be interesting. It'll also be interesting to see how it leaves off, because there are so many question marks about the MCU right now. There's going to be like 45 end credit sequences on this. There's no way around that. So
that would be awesome.
What does it set up? What are they changing? What are they twisting? You know, if they go into multiverse stuff, there's a real possibility that they could throw something into Deadpool 3 that changes the direction of the MCU. Like, this might be the pivot point from the plan that they've had that's clearly not working into something potentially new.
I think that's spot on. And I think that pivot could be a turn toward X-Men. Is like, I feel like in the coming years, that's where a big move is going to be. Whether or not they still have to do some Secret War stuff to get there, but really teasing the X-Men is where the juice is.
Is that though? Because
we've been saying this for years, like X-Men, X-Men.
Well,
this
here's
means
my
X-Men.
question about the whole X-Men of it all, and then we can move on to the next movie. But I've been rewatching those movies with my son. They're not great. Like, there's some good things about them, but that series, there's some highlights for sure. We mentioned Logan earlier, X-Men First Class. We haven't rewatched that one yet, but as
The
far as I
Quicksilver
remember,
stuff is so great.
Quicksilver stuff is great. I think Days of Future Past is, but for the most part, out of 13 movies in that series, they have a very low hit ratio going on there. So I worry about taking a lesser movie series and be like, great news, we're throwing in a lesser movie series in this movie series that's kind of hit a bunch of hiccups, to be kind.
Well, but I think
they hit it right.
Yes,
You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, that's true.
And they need to. They need to hit this right. And I think they know that. And I think the fact that we're moving toward that at a time when they're fully reassessing how they do things, and this like cowboy will figure it out as we go along and then reshoot all this other stuff way of doing it, I think is going away. And this is going to be maybe the pivot both from a character choice and story point, but also just a creative process pivot. And that's where it needs to be.
Yeah, I actually want to change my opinion from earlier. Rather than focusing on the emotional core of the movie, I want to see how they do a corporate pivot. Like, that's my big thing with this movie.
That's what emotion in Hollywood is a corporate. The corporate pivot in The Notebook is amazing.
Stop.
So good. When she jumps into his arms and they're kissing in the rain, and he's like, corporate pivot. Beautiful.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyway, why don't we move on to the next one? Let's see how hyped folks are for this. Kraven the Hunter, coming out August 30th, 2024. This has been delayed a very long time at this point. They've said it's because of strikes and other reasons. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. But this stars Aaron Taylor Johnson, speaking of Quicksilver, as Kraven the Hunter, who gets
everyone's favorite Quicksilver.
Yep. As lion powers. He gets lion powers after a lion bleeds into him, based on the trailer, as far as I can tell. Ariana DeBose is Calypso, a voodoo priestess. You got Russell Crowe as Kraven's father, and a couple of other people are there. This is the big selling point for this movie, or at least how they've been trying to sell it. This is another Sony movie, is that this is like R-rated, in your face. He's hunting people, stepping in pools of blood. It is just like balls to the wall. Hunter, you are going to be hunted down by this movie and mounted on a wall.
Yeah, it's balls to the wall. It's nuts to the knucks. This movie's going hard. I have a connection with this movie because I actually was in an accident, and a bunch of crickets bled into my blood. So I have cricket powers. It's not super nice.
So you
it's
can
annoying.
give good advice. You can give good advice.
Yeah, exactly. Jiminy Cricket. I have Jiminy Cricket powers. So Pete, let me just say to you, let your conscience be your guide.
What do you think, Pete?
I'm worried about this movie because I've read a lot of interesting Kraven books. There's some great story arcs that have Kraven in them, but I've never walked away and been like, man, Kraven should be getting more shine right now. You know what I mean? Like,
well, Kraven lives up to his name.
Misunderstood, blood mixing villain that everybody can relate to. God, I just want to go on a hunting spree. What?
That's true, but that's literally all of Sony's movies. They're like, what's left in this barrel? I guess down at the bottom. Let's go down to the bottom and find the character we want for our next movie. But you can't knock Kraven for not hunting. This guy's always hunting in the comics.
Always
in this movie,
hunting.
Always ABH.
The funny part about the bottom of the barrel thing, though, is as far as been reported, Kraven was a priority for them, to the point that Spider-Man 3, the whole idea that they initially pitched was that after Spider-Man seemingly killed Mysterio in the second movie, Spider-Man 3, I mean like the Spider-Man No Way Home.
Okay, thank you.
So, yes, the Tom Holland Spider-Man.
There's a couple different Spider-Man 3s, so which one will we talk about here?
So, after the second Tom Holland Spider-Man, where he was accused of killing Mysterio, and his identity was revealed by J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah, we all
Their idea
remember.
for the third movie was that Kraven was going to hunt him throughout New York, and that would be the villain of the movie. And frankly, I remember very clearly walking out of the second movie and being like, the villain of the next movie should be Kraven. So personally, it made a lot of sense to me. Sony told them, they were like, no, we need to introduce Kraven in his own solo movie first. You
Yeah,
can't.
Spider-Man's not even in this fucking movie.
As far as you know.
There are
As far as you
spiders.
know.
There's no doubt there are
The whole
spiders.
thing
Are there
just seems
tombs?
like the worst impulses of Sony to me. We were talking about that
totems?
earlier with Madam Web, but well, not the totem thing, but they seem to have decided that like the main thing to take away from Spider-Man is spider blood, is how he gets his powers. So that Morbius gets his powers from bat blood, and Kraven gets his powers, question mark, that he's never had in the comic books, from lion blood. I don't know why that's a thing. This could be schlocky fun, particularly with Russell Crowe. Now, clearly, it is funny voice.
Boys, your mother is dead. Your mother is dead.
He's clearly in his funny voice, period,
Yes.
between this and what was it, The Pope's Exorcist, where he's like, yeah, all right, I need money. Let's go.
Yeah.
So if it's that, it'll be fine, but
I'm worried about the fallout of this movie because kids everywhere are going to start spilling different kinds of blood on themselves and looking for powers, and it's going to be a pandemic.
safe to say we're not Kraven this movie, so why don't we move on to the next one? Yeah, there we go. I've been sitting on that all podcast.
Yeah, wow, guys earned it.
Next one is Joker,
Podcast.
Folie Deux, which is coming out October 4th, 2024. It stars, once again, Joaquin Phoenix as Arthur Fleck, a.k.a. the Joker. It introduces Lady Gaga as Dr. Harleen Quinzel, who we know better as Harley Quinn. Zazie Beetz is back as Joker's neighbor, everybody's favorite character. And Brendan Gleeson, Catherine Kinnear, and a couple of other folks are in it. Todd Phillips is once again directing and co-writing. And the big headline here is it's a musical. Like, it's straight up a musical. Lady Gaga, Joaquin Phoenix singing songs. This is the movie that I think maybe I'm most hyped for this year, just as a wild, crazy project. And I say that as somebody who hated the first Joker.
You hated Joker more than anyone.
Hated Joker.
No,
Hated
that's
what it
not
did
true. You didn't hate it
culturally.
more than I did.
Loathed
Really?
that movie and everything that it stood for. I don't know. First of all, I feel like people being like, yeah, I'm an edgelord, bro, love Joker, coming to the second one, finding out it's a musical. Just culturally, we're going to have a complete meltdown. Like, it's going to be a bomb that's going to explode there. I think that's great. I also think, like, I've really enjoyed what Joaquin Phoenix has been doing lately, like post-Joker. Napoleon, very mixed movie, but he was very funny in that.
He's funny in it, yeah.
And
it's a weird, the jokes are weird and they're good, though.
Yeah, and Beau is Afraid.
Napoleon.
I don't know if you guys checked that out, but that's another insane nightmare of a movie. But Joaquin Phoenix, again, so funny and so interesting in it. So he's definitely been on a roll. I'm very iffy about the Todd Phillips of it all and him necessarily nailing it. But like Lady Gaga also goes for it and absolutely everything, whether it works or not. So
Yeah,
I
House
don't
of
know.
Gucci.
Just as a cultural moment, it probably will go horribly wrong, but if it goes horribly right, that could be great.
I agree with you. It's a weird choice, but weird is good. It's a deviation from like the formula that we've been a little bit bogged down in. So like, this could be good. This could be good. Like, it was crazy to me when the first Joker came out, because you guys disliked it so much, and I was like, oh, this is good. That my brain is like, Joker was bad because of your opinions.
Oh, no.
My wife, it's the one comic book movie that my wife is like, this movie is amazing. And I'm like, this is even weirder. I'm in a spiral.
I am worried about your life now.
But believe me. So I'm hyped for it. I will say the Harley Quinn of it all, it's a different Harley Quinn than we've known in the movies. And it's hard to move past. Yes, but like the Harley Quinn is such a Margot Robbie is so good in it. Like, is that going to be a stumbling block in this movie?
Yeah, I'm. The movie, the first one pissed me off so much. I'm not going to go see this movie. I don't care what anybody says or how
You
good
have
it is.
to.
No,
You have
guys.
to.
You're
You're a journalist.
No,
You're a journalist.
I am not. That
journalist.
first movie was
You're
so
a professional film critic, Pete. This is Comic Book Club's 2024 movie preview. We are establishing ourselves.
I don't recognize this as a comic book movie. I don't
It's
recognize
film
this
critics.
as a movie worth time and energy. So this
Do you
is
remember
not.
when we start this and we were like, what movie are you most hyped for 2024 years ago? And we were like, I don't know, Sand, I guess. Like that moves around in the desert.
Sand?
Yeah.
The original
it's a
movie.
I can't
It's a
get it
movie.
out of my pants. How am I gonna? I wouldn't be looking forward to that.
You can't get sand out of your pants?
Can't get
You
it.
can't do it?
For years,
You got
I've
sand.
been
You got
trying.
sand in your pants right now.
You go to
and
the
can't-
beach one time and you're
First
pulling
off,
sand out for
don't-
years after that.
Take your pants off at the beach. That's mistake number one. You can't be wearing a pair of thick jeans sitting on the sand. We learned that in podcast number one.
I wear Carhartts on the beach.
The image of that is disgusting. The feeling that would have. Pete, you have to see this movie because otherwise, how will we hear your signature nuts or nucks on this movie if you
I'm
don't go
going
see
to tell
it?
you right now, it's Nux. I'm not going to go see it.
Wait, no, that's the good one. Nux is the good one. Nuts is
Yeah, that's your definition. I think nuts is the good thing.
We're gonna
Again,
have
we're
a
going to
lot of
post the
text
text
about
thread.
this. Yeah.
We'll post the text thread. We have to decide which is good. I don't think Siskel and Ebert were like, is thumbs up good or bad? Which one's good?
Well, that's more of a universal thing. Nux and nuts. I mean, I think
is universal.
nuts are better than nux, but you guys are like, no.
No,
nuts
I think
where
nuts
it's
is
at.
good too, and nuts is
See?
bad.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Let's go to the audience. This whole podcast was generated off an audience member. So for the audience, just hashtag at us Team Nux or Team Nuts, and we'll
Team
count
Nuts all
the
day.
votes and let
And
you know
real
in
quick,
the 2025 movie preview.
A hashtag is something that used to be on Twitter, a website that we mostly don't use anymore.
Yeah, you can put it on threads, but the way they do hashtags is bad. Why don't we move on to the last comic book movie that supposedly is coming out this year, which is Venom 3. We've been talking about Venom a lot. This is potentially the final movie in the Venom trilogy, and we know the least about this because this is coming out November 8th, 2024, at least as
Just getting it in.
Tom Hardy, of course, is back as Eddie Brock at Venom, and additional actors that we know are coming in are Juno Temple, one of Pete's
Shouts.
favorites from Ted Lasso, and
No, I'm
Chiwetel
very excited.
Ejiofor, a man who has never seen a Marvel or sci-fi movie that he didn't want to be in, is back in the saddle as some role. And we really don't know anything about this. As we're taping, they released a new logo that kind of looks like a video game start screen, excuse me, and it has the 3 up like the Alien 3 logo. So I don't know what's going on there. We really have no idea other than they're filming it right now. And it's written and directed by Kelly Marcel, who I believe is a friend of Tom Hardy's, and
They've collaborated on all of the Venom movies, and the two of them have slowly consolidated power so that they have basically total creative control of this movie. Kelly Marcel, I believe, was the person in his ear when doing the Venom voice or playing him doing the Venom voice in his ear while they were filming so that he could interact with. Their process for this movie is crazy. Tom Hardy's a maniac for this role. The fact that they have huge creative control here, the most they've had in all the movies, means this is going to be wildly good or just like be incomprehensible as a film.
Well, that's the fun of a Venom movie. You don't know what you're going to get. But I think what's going to happen in this is going to be a continuation of Ted Lasso because you got Juno Tempo in there. And then we're going to throw Brett Goldstein, which we all know is Hercules. And it's going to be like a Hercules versus Venom battle. And I think that'll be a lot of fun.
That is the craziest possible take on this because that is not what's going to happen. A continuation of Ted Lasso.
You don't know.
similar to the path of the Deadpool movies, the first one wildly somehow worked and understood Venom in a way that was fun and ridiculous. The second one, very mixed. Like all of the stuff with Woody Harrelson as Carnage should have worked. That was really good casting, and it just distracted from the movie. The whole pseudo coming out storyline with Venom was very fun and did work because, to your point, that was Tom Hardy leading into the batshit insanity of it. And that's kind of what I'm hoping for. Like there was, I don't remember how many hours, but they said that there was like 6 hours of improvisation that Tom Hardy had done on the first movie. Release the Tom Hardy footage. Like if this is 6 hours of just footage of Tom Hardy going insane and jumping in lobster tanks, that'll be a good movie.
You can feel the cocaine.
You can feel the cocaine. I've said this before that it's like hot, it's like a fire in the movie.
Yeah.
Ooh, toasty coke.
I can feel the cocaine.
The
I've
white
said this
stuff
before.
on his costume, the spider, is all cocaine, right?
Yeah, exactly. The symbiote is slowly becoming more coke. I've said this before. I'm reading the MCU book about the history of the MCU and business side of
Don't
it.
not flex on us.
That's a book that anyone can buy or take from your local library.
That's a nuck flex is what it is.
Yeah.
Talking about the process where they were eating and breathing these movies all day, they would work all night, they would have drinks and talk about the movie. It feels like that's what they do on this movie. What Tom Hardy and Kelly Marcel are, they're literally living this movie their whole lives. And maybe that's where the original MCU process is going to work in this movie, Venom 3.
Wow.
Should be interesting. Very curious to see what happens over the course of this year. Of course, whether all of these movies actually come out. As we mentioned, production schedules are still shifting and changing all over the place. But yeah, just to check in. So we got Madam Web is Justin's most hyped movie at the beginning of the year. We got Deadpool 3 is Pete's most hyped movie of the year. And Joker Folie Deux is my most hyped movie of the year. So
Great.
yeah, we'll check in, I guess, at the end of the year and see how that all
Who
panned
wins the
out.
year?
Who wins?
Who wins?
Who wins the year?
How do we determine that? Who knows? But whoever gets the most hashtags, Team Ducks or Team Nuts, is definitely the winner of something.
Yeah. So make sure on your Team Nuts or Team Nuts hashtag you put which one of the three of us with our hashtag, who you're pulling for in
Wow.
which team you're on.
Yeah.
That's a lot to put on a shirt or something.
Yeah, and if you could add a hashtag Venom suit so cocaine at the same time, that would be much appreciated because
So
we're
cocaine.
really trying to get that trending.
Yeah.
If you'd like to support this podcast and all the podcasts we do, patreon.com/comic book club. Also, we do a live show every Tuesday night at 7 p.m. to Facebook and YouTube. Come hang out. We would love to chat with you about anything comic book movies. Apple, Spotify, Android, or the app of your choice, except for Google Podcasts, which is going away at the end of March. If you're subscribed there, please subscribe somewhere else or transfer over to YouTube Music for some reason is why they're doing that. But in the meantime, at Comic Book Live on Twitter/X, Comic Book Club Live on TikTok and Instagram, comicbookclublive.com for this podcast and many more. Until next time, we'll see you at the movies.
Yeah. Stay nuts, folks.
Stay nuts.